Yes. So welcome everyone. Thank you all so much for joining us today. So Madhava Kids, today we're going to have a guest presentation by His Grace Rajshekhar Prabhu. And Rajshekhar Prabhu is going to present on moral principles from Vedic scriptures, an introduction. So it's going to be a very nice interactive session. So we welcome Rajshekhar Prabhu. Prabhuji, you can now take over the session.
Thank you, Mataji. Can you all see my screen, the presentation screen, or it's
Yes,
showing
Prabhuji.
Yes.
full screen?
Yes.
All right. So just do some Mangalacharana prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om
Namo
Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om
Namo
Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Ruptam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Gnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. First of all, thank you to the organizers of Bhakti Sangha group. Thank you, Mataji, for giving an opportunity to allow me to share a few things. I don't have much knowledge, but based on my limited understanding and from what I heard from Srila Prabhupada and the representatives and from the literature that Srila Prabhupada has given to us, we'll make a humble attempt to share a few things for the benefit of everyone. At the same time, I would also like to congratulate the Bhakti Sangha team for conducting the summer camp where my kids were also part of it, Maithili and Keshav, and they thoroughly relished, enjoyed, learned a lot of things. So extremely grateful and indebted to all the volunteers who put together a fantastic show of amazing coordination and a concerted effort to bring all the kids across United States to the same forum and disseminating such a wonderful knowledge. So without any further delay, we'll get into today's topic. So in fact, the genesis behind this particular seva is just to be part of this overall endeavor, the overall efforts that you all are putting together. I thought maybe I can also contribute in my insignificant capacity to help and share a few things that might be useful for all the kids today here. So I believe we have got about 43 participants. I request all of you to kindly mute yourself, and if you want to ask any questions or make any comments, feel free to unmute and speak. So I know there are a lot of topics pertaining to spirituality, bhakti, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam. So many wonderful topics are being discussed. So I thought I can probably share a few things from a morality standpoint, which is very, very helpful for the growing kids like all of you. I believe this group, Madhava group, is comprised of kids from 10 years and above. So this is the time where a person, a kid, understands and starts applying the rationale behind what is good, what is not good. So having a right foundation can essentially build a very wonderful character for all of us. I remember this quote that you sow a thought, you reap an act. You sow an act, you reap an habit. And you sow a habit, you reap a character. And you sow a character, you reap a destiny. So it's very important that we focus on our thoughts. We understand what is good, what is not good from the injunctions of Vedic scriptures, so that we can carve out a wonderful destiny for all of us. So the definition of morality from Oxford Dictionary, just to set the context for all of us, is principles concerning the distinction between right and wrong. This screen is, yeah. Principles concerning the distinction between right and wrong, or good and bad behavior. A particular system of values and principles of conduct, especially one held by a specified person or society. The extent to which an action is right or wrong. Very, very deep and pertinent points to define this term called morality. And we all have come across this particular terminology a lot. If not, you will come across in your academic texts, in your discussions with your friends, with parents and other elders, right? Hey, we want to be morally correct. We want to be ethically correct. We want to do the right thing. So all these are pretty much the building blocks of a society. To look at from a different perspective, in a day-to-day terms, the aspect of following the moral principles is like obeying the traffic signal. So what happens when you go on a highway and you are being displayed the speed limit? The idea behind the speed limit is you are supposed to follow a certain speed and not supposed to cross that limit. So that is the idea of having certain rules, code of conduct laid down by the law of the land or the government when it comes to simple thing like driving on the road. Similarly, when we talk about moral principles, this is seen from a broader context, following the principles for achieving the goal of a life. So what happens is, if you don't have those moral values in the society, society is comprised of people coming from different walks of life, different backgrounds. And if their education or their upbringing is not rooted in the right code of conduct, the right environment imbued with moral principles, we end up in a society which is ridden with corruption, nepotism, favoritism, infidelity, etc. So many different aspects come into picture. And so many unfavorable things, so to speak. And the interesting thing is, everyone know that these are wrong things. However, people still succumb to do those things. I took down some of these points from a lot of wonderful articles written by devotees. So I put together and made it a little bit more simpler, taking away some of the philosophical aspects so that we can make it more meaningful and easy to understand for the kids. So people in general say, hey, education or educating the people in ethics and the values is a solution that will help people get rid of corruption. How many of you have, anybody would like to raise your hand? Any example that you have come across which is related to corruption or something wrong in the society? Just anybody, one volunteer? Yeah. Go ahead, Ujjwal.
Yeah, sometimes in my school when lots of people use social media and are disrupting the teachers during school, it leads to corruption because they are doing things which are bad for them, and yet they still know. But most of these things that lead people to corruption are very addictive. So if you do anything, if you are in the path to corruption, you will constantly do things that will lead you there. So yeah.
Good example, very true. So when you don't follow the rules, you're corrupting your own mind and also the minds of others and disobeying the rules. True. So like that, we see so many examples in our society, and people know that it is wrong, but they cannot control. And a good analogy is given here that what is it living by moral principles, right? So if you are, as we discussed, if you're on highway, you're trying to follow the rules, the traffic laws, so that your journey is smooth and safe. And the purpose of your journey is you want to reach to your destination. The destination could be your office, could be your school, could be your home, could be, a certain temple, right? Go to some satsang programs. So that's the goal. The goal is not travel. Travel is a medium to reach the destination. Now, in a normal scheme of things, if people don't understand the importance of following the rules, and they may say, hey, I'm getting late, or if I see some obstacle and that may impact my travel, with complete convenience, I may break the law. Because the idea of morality is not deep rooted. It's very superficial. So the example is given, and sometimes we might also do it for a higher cause. So keeping aside those outliers, but in general, we are expected to follow the rules and regulations, and we fail to do it because we don't intrinsically accept those values or those rules as important and useful. That's the underlying problem. So let's look at some of the reasons why morality is not followed. The morality, if we want to compare it with traffic laws, the traffic following a proper law and order, it promotes a specific orderliness, right? Just like, for example, you have all these planets revolving around sun. They all follow a certain rule, a certain velocity, a certain orbit, so that they remain in that orbit and they rotate and revolve around the sun without disturbing other planets. If every planet defines its own route and they start cross-cutting the other orbits, what will happen? The planets may collide. So even at the universal level, the rules are being followed very precisely. So at a very basic level in society, the traffic laws or any general laws or rules and regulations is meant to bring some orderliness in the social interactions, in the peaceful execution of the societal activities. So with that said, we still see a lot of violations. We see people driving under influence, DUI, right, causing so many accidents. People die, innocent people die because of the mistake of somebody else. So if we kind of enumerate certain reasons that why people don't follow morality, is because modern education doesn't teach us about the goal of our social transactions or of life itself. It only talks about it at a superficial level, that you are supposed to follow this, you are supposed to do this, but it doesn't give us the ultimate goal, that why. And the goal becomes even more pervasive, more important, and more meaningful when we understand the goal in the context of our life, that what is it that I'm going to do. Just that, if you're going on a highway and if someone stops you and they ask you, hey, where do you want to go? And if you don't know where are you going, then the person may think something is wrong with this guy. So we should know the ultimate goal of life. And Prahlad Maharaj, who is the son of Hiranyakashipu, in Srimad Bhagavatam, explains that this knowledge about the ultimate goal of life should be taught right from the age of 5. Kaumaram Acharit Pradyo. So right from Kaumara age 5 and onwards, one should be taught. So because of that lack of education, people don't follow them religiously. And also because why do we see corruption and infidelity and nepotism and favoritism, so on and so forth? Because the pursuance of material goals. If you have a desire to achieve, but you don't have enough talent or preparation or ability to compete, then what people do? Then they take the shelter of these lower forms of principles, or rather lower forms of options, right? I mean, the immoral ways to get to their destination. Like somebody who is not studying well and he wants to be the top of the line student, the student may do wrong things. As long as the student is not properly educated, the student may commit mistakes. So these material goals, as you grow, you will come across fame, wealth, luxuries, power, pleasure, so many things. All these material aggrandizements will force the person to do wrong things, to act immorally. And one should try to control that with the help of right knowledge. However, we'll come to that. So these are the reasons why morality is not followed very religiously, because people are succumbed to these lower forms of enjoyment and success. And with the modern rat race, the modern education, what it teaches us predominantly, that how you present yourself. The intent is not important. The content and intent, both of them are not important. What is important is your presentation, how you present yourself. So that kind of is very farcical, very superficial, although we have to be very pragmatic and we have to kind of be very smart in what we are doing. But at the same time, we should understand what is the ultimate goal. What are the principles upon which I am living? Somebody has a question? You can take a, somebody raise a hand.
Yeah, that was me. Were you so you're saying that you can, there are two things like which could happen. You can either be really smart and talented, but you could not know what your path is. You could not know what you're trying to achieve, or you're saying that you can be very you know what you're gonna do, you know which way you're going to go, but you don't know you don't have enough practice or hard work in order to reach that, right?
Yeah, what I was saying was when people don't have enough practice, enough capacity, or enough competence, then they tend to go the wrong route. And one should, as devotees, as the people who are, as all of us who are trying to follow the spiritual principles, sincerely, we should try to avoid that, and we'll come to that point. But yes, you're right. I mean, people do that sometimes if they are not enough prepared, right? And we should try to avoid it. So the result is, and then of course the godless education gives us no knowledge about higher dimensional science. It doesn't tell us that, what is the benefit of following the right principles? What is the benefit of speaking truth? Like, I see like my kids when they at elementary level. So the school does try to teach certain basic things like self-control, being honest, being truthful. These are good principles, but for someone to take those and apply deeply in their life, we need to also understand how that is meant for me in the long run, in the journey of my life. And that's exactly what is missing in today's education system. And that's why Srila Prabhupada, he says it's a godless education, because it doesn't put God in the center of our education system. And as the growing kids, as you can see, this is an effort by all the devotees across this ISKCON community. Like, all of the devotees are trying to bridge that gap between the godless education and the God-centric education and principles. So the result, morality appears entirely dispensable. Dispensable means you will follow morality as long as it is not inconvenient. The moment you see an inconvenience, you don't follow the principles, the moral values. So let's talk about higher morality. Then, it might be a little too deep for some of the kids here, but people who know about Krishna, who know about stories of Krishna, this question comes, especially in the elder age group kids, that okay, we are talking about morality, we are talking about the instructions from Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, but we still see that even God is not following the morality all the time. So isn't God expected to follow? And we'll discuss about it, that why God is above morality and why we should follow morality. So first of all, moral codes, my dear young friends, is like a torch. If you are walking in a dark forest, if you need a torch to give you the right direction, to take you out of that forest, these moral codes are like that, where we are in this dungeon of this material world, in this very, very, I would say, heartless and bizarre world, which is filled with so many miseries, right? So many problems. But we need to have a guiding torchlight that can navigate us, that can take us through the right direction so that we can reach our goal. So we are lost in the darkness of ignorance in this material world, and we don't know what to do. So these moral codes help us to reach our destination. And they also protect us from our selfish desires, because once you know what is right, what is wrong, just to fulfill one's selfish desire, you will never accept wrong path. That is the power of morality, that it will help you as a guardrail to stay within the framework of scriptures, to stay within the acceptable limits of the way of your living values. It will not digress you, or it will not make you breach. So we are cognizant of the fact that this is where I'm supposed to do. This is what my limits are. I should not cross those, or else it will be wrong. That wisdom one develops when one learns the moral principles. Just a quick look at the analogy of Krishna and sun. So Krishna is the source of all morality from the Vedic literature. Let's accept it for a moment, that Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, is the source of all morality, as ordained by a lot of scriptures. We have a lot of references for that. But let's accept it for a moment like that. And sun is the source of all light, right? So we're just trying to draw an analogy. Now, if we try to examine Krishna with our moral standards, it is just like we are trying to understand the applicability of a law with a lawyer who is very, very experienced without having any knowledge about the constitution. It is very futile. Similarly, say if you are having a sunlight, if you're trying to search, sorry, if you don't have a sunlight in the dark, you have a torchlight and you're trying to find sun. Is it possible to find sun with a torchlight? The torchlight can never reach the sun. It's just not possible. Likewise, when Krishna decides to reveal himself, then we can understand what is his morality and glory by his mercy. And likewise, when the sun decides to rise, then we can see the sunlight. We cannot force, hey sun, now you set and now you rise. We cannot control that. Although it can be predicted, because sun also follows the rules and regulations given by the Supreme Lord. See what I'm saying? So we cannot dictate Krishna. Krishna decides when Krishna wants to reveal. So we cannot understand from our tiny, puny intelligence that whether Krishna is moral or not moral. Now, Krishna does not need the moral codes because he doesn't have the slightest trace of selfish desires like us. Krishna is Purna Purushottam. Krishna is an embodiment of purity, right? Selflessness is the ocean of all the great qualities. He doesn't need anything from us. So unlike us, like, where we are always asking, oh, I want Xbox, I want, this new toy, or I want a new MacBook, I want this gadget, that gadget. We are always in the wanting spree. And as someone said, which is a very, very important principle, which I always try to remember, and I share with my kids too, is God gives, and forgives. And we, human beings, we get, and we forget. So the moral principles help us overcome this disease, this deficiency of forgetfulness. We should never forget what the Supreme Lord has given to us. So Krishna is fully satisfied and acts out of selfless love. And it is our best interest. It is in our best interest to follow the moral codes to please the Supreme Lord so that he may eventually reveal. So this moral code, now we are taking it to the next level, that not only following the moral principles will make us successful in our life, but also will help us reach the Supreme Lord. However, one should not become careful. One should not become proud of their righteousness. Sometimes we become very, very proud about, hey, I am always doing my homework. I am always completing my assignments. I am always, getting A+ in the grades. That, and I'm always, working very hard. So sometimes that leads to pride, which is again very detrimental for our success. I would like to skip this particular thing, but this is a little bit more detailed discussion, which we can cover after, if we have time, a little later. But this is about understanding sometimes in the scriptures, in the stories that you listen from so many teachers about Ramayana or Mahabharata, or the pastimes of Krishna, you may come across certain controversies or certain discrepancies, and you may think that, hey, I am learning all the good stuff, but I see that the God is not always doing the same good stuff. And it should not, it is never right. The God will never do a wrong thing, but there are higher level of explanation that's required to understand why God does certain things in a certain way. So making the morality for all of us very practical to apply, number one thing is we have to understand that we are following these moral principles. We need to follow the moral principles to ultimately get the love of God, because that's the goal of our life. When we understand in the big picture that following these moral rules will help me eventually to please the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna, who is the source of all the success, all the knowledge, all the opulence to all of us, then we become very, very fixated in following this, right? So we need to apply genuine spiritual education, which is what we learn from Bhagavad Gita, from Bhagavatam, from all the relevant scriptures, Ishopanishad and others, right? Where we understand the do's and the don'ts, what is right, what is wrong. And at an individual level, it helps. Like someone may say, why only me? If I become very righteous, will that change the world? So a very good analogy is given that when someone is suffering with a cancer, one good cell of a cancer can actually cure or start the healing process. Similarly, one single person setting a right example can actually make others also follow. So let's imbibe this principle, not looking at who is doing, who is not doing, but let's imbibe and apply these principles at your individual level. Don't compare with others, whether they are doing it or not. You may come across, some of you are being homeschooled, some of you are going to public schools or private schools. So you may meet with several different type of kids or students, and not all of them are coming from same background. So one need to understand that we are doing it not for others. We are doing it for our own success and for our eternal Father, Sri Krishna. I just want to quickly highlight few principles. What are those moral principles, you may ask? One of the principles is honesty. Honesty is very, very important. As they say, honesty is the best policy. So many proverbs you will hear about honesty. But honesty is rooted in truthfulness also, right? So one need to be very honest in our dealings with others. Honesty means being very truthful, not trying to be duplicitous, not trying to hide things, not trying to cheat anybody, right? Being very, very truthful. So here it is said that there are 4 legs of religion. Satyam, Shaucham, Kshama, and Dayam. And in Srimad Bhagavatam, it is mentioned, Tata Anudinam Dharmam Satyam, Shaucham, Kshama, Dayam, Kalena Balina Rajan na Angchati Ayu Balam Smritihi. That in this day and age in which we are in, the year 2020 and onwards, people have reduced degree of longevity, intelligence, memory, and also with every progressive day, the 4 pillars, truthfulness, austerity, purity, and mercy, they are also diminishing. In fact, it is said the only one leg of dharma is left, which is truthfulness. And that can be executed with the help of honesty. And one of the ways we can invoke this spiritual principle is by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So when we chant this Mahamantra, what happens? All these anarthas or the dirt within the heart, it is removed. When the dirt is removed, then any elements of dishonesty, any elements of pride, enviousness, they also will gradually be cleaned away. Very, very powerful process, very simple process. One process, you will get all the benefits, all the moral principles automatically will develop. The next is about, again from Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhishma Dev, who is the grandsire of Kuru dynasty. All of you know about Bhishma, who had the benediction of Ichha Mrityu. That means he can leave the body when he wants to. Such a great benediction. We don't have that option, right? People in this world, we don't have an option. We have to leave this body when the time comes. But for Bhishma, it was different because of his greatness, because he was very, very moral, and also he followed the dharma perfectly. And he instructs to Yudhishthir Maharaj, who became the king of Hastinapur after Kurukshetra war. So during that time, he instructs that what are the things that are important. Dharma means following the religious principles. That is chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, reading and learning from Bhagavad Gita, and all these wonderful things that you are learning from Bhakti Sangha channel or group is very, very important. And then integrity. Integrity is what you are doing when nobody is watching. That is in essence integrity. That means even if you are alone or with hundreds of people, you have the same personality. You have that integrity of your word and action. And then performing righteous activities all the time, and morality. These are all the qualities and attributes of a successful person, right? And he says that when we leave this body, when we become old, nothing comes with us. None of these material things that we accrue, right? It doesn't come. Only thing that come with us is our religious piety, our righteousness, and all the good things that we have done. So that will walk us away. As he says, a spouse, mother, father, sons, everything will walk away from our bodies at the death to go with their own work. Only dharma follows the soul. Very powerful statement. Moving on, the next is humility. Humility is a very, very essential quality that we all need to apply. And this is not just for youngsters. This is a principle which is applied or applicable for everybody at all age groups. And it is a constant struggle to develop. And Krishna in Bhagavad Gita says in 13th chapter, the first quality, amanitvam, adambitvam, ahimsa, kshantim. So if you read the 20 items of knowledge, the first is amanitvam, humility. And with humility, you can conquer the whole world. Although your goal is not to conquer, but the whole world will appreciate. As you know, there is a great sannyasi, a guru in our ISKCON society, His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj, who actually is considered to be very, very humble by so many devotees. So he says that the greatest act of compassion a person can do in this world is to be a good example to others, for others to follow. And what is that example? The example of humility. Humility is, what does humility mean? Humility or humbleness doesn't mean, oh, I am very, very humble, I am meek, I cannot do this, I am useless. No. Humility is to accept the fact that I am not the doer. The Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna, is the doer. I am an instrument. I am a humble instrument in the hands of Krishna and in the hands of my Guru. And for all of you, Guru also represents your parents, your teachers who are teaching all these things. So our mood should be like that. Be very humble. Selfless dedication. Don't do your education or whatever you are studying only to kind of get some results. Don't be result oriented. Be dedicated to the cause, that I am doing this as a service to Krishna. If I become a good student, then Krishna will be happy, my parents will be happy, my teachers will be happy. So that should be the mood. The mood is not to just become famous or get a, of course those things will automatically follow. You don't have to hanker for those. And self-control, very, very important in this day and age with so much of electronic attachment to gadgets. The self-control is very important. Controlling one's anger, controlling one's temperament, controlling one's word, vacho vegam. All these are very, very important principles. So when we do this, then the other kids, other people will see and they will also follow. And integrity means to be honest, be truthful, and make great sacrifices. Who are we are for? So you, at your individual level, always try to help other kids. Help participate in some of the community welfare activities, or at the same time share Krishna Prasadam with your friends. Whatever little you can do within a reason to pass on good vibrations. It's very good. And Shikshashtakam prayers tell us Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Sahishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari. That the first quality for a devotee is humility. Trinadapi, just like a humble blade of grass. And be tolerant like a tree. Don't expect respect from others. Don't hanker for that. It will automatically come. But give respect to everyone. And in that mood, we should all chant. And this is the age, a formative age where we can build this castle of wonderful qualities which will stay firm for the rest of your life. As we grow, as Srila Prabhupada says, you cannot teach new tricks to old dogs. That's why Srila Prabhupada was very, very passionate about preaching to colleges, to universities, to kids, to students, because students are in the learning mode. So this is the right age where we can inculcate these things. Integrity means to be honest, be truthful, to make great sacrifices for the welfare of others. I think just one more minute. So I want to conclude with the couple of quotes from Chanakya Pandit, who is considered to be one of the moral, I would say, expert, who also composed something called as Chanakya Niti. Chanakya Niti, some of you might have heard, is a book of different principles given by Chanakya Pandit for us to be successful in our lives, right? And I just there are several of them, and there are also nice books written by ISKCON devotees that you can refer to as your age permits. You can read, because it is a little bit more philosophical, but something at a high level, as you can see, that just as one single tree with one single blossom perfumes the entire forest, in the same way, one single devotee born in a family enlightens the entire history of the race. And all of you who have been exposed to this subject matter of Bhagavad Gita and this esoteric spiritual principles, the scriptures mention that such kids are not ordinary kids. So you have already made some good progress in your previous lives, and now you are starting from a point where you left. So you have the potential, the potency to make your family and the whole society very glorious by remarkable devotional service, by being exemplary devotees. And I would like to conclude here with this verse in Bhagavad Gita, the concluding verse of Bhagavad Gita, which says, Yatra Yogeshwaro Krishno, Yatra Partho Dhanurdharaha, Tatra Srir Vijayo Bhutir Dhruva Nitir Matir Mama. The translation goes that something which is like the bottom line of everything that I said is, wherever there is Krishna, Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, who is the master of all mystics, Yogeshwara, and wherever Yatra Partho Dhanurdharaha, wherever there is Arjuna, who is the supreme archer. Dhanurdhara means who is the supreme archer, who is the best archer. Tatra, there, Sri means opulence. Vijaya means victory. Bhutir, Dhruva means extraordinary power. Niti means morality. Matir Mama, and this is my opinion. Sanjaya says that wherever the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna is, that means you are on the side of morality, because Krishna will never support immorality. And that's why one takeaway principle that you all can go with from this presentation is, always make sure that you are on the side of Krishna. That means always follow the principles and the instructions given by the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. Then that means you are following the right path. You are on the side of morality. And that's what is the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita as well. Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna. Prabhupada ki jai. Does anybody have any comments, any questions? We can, I don't know if time permitting, we can take one or two.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the very nice, detailed presentation, which is very, very important for the children of this age to develop these values. Thank you so much, Prabhu. If you have any questions,
No question, Mataji, but the class was very good. We thoroughly enjoyed. Thank you for arranging this.
Very good.
Yeah, after this lesson, I was able to take away lots of great principles about life and how we could, behave better. Bye.
I think the class was really nice and I learned a lot from it. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, very nice class, Prabhuji. I really liked all the points about morality and all the different like humility and all those different types of key qualities that we need to have in our life.
Sure. Thank you.
Hare
Thank you.
Krishna Prabhuji. I don't have any questions, but today was a very great class.
It's all Srila Prabhupada's mercy that Prabhupada has given us. Srila Prabhupada has given us all this knowledge and books that in this day and age we should be very fortunate about to have access to these things. So let us all loudly say, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari. Hare Krishna Mataji, over to you.
Thank you so much, Rajshekar Prabhu. That was a very, very nice session, and I'm sure the kids learned a lot today. So thank you very much for your kind and valuable association. So thanks to all the children for joining today. This was a very nice value-based session for all of you. From our next week, we will study Bhagavad Gita, and it is going to be a continuation of the previous classes. We will send further information to all of you on a regular basis on the WhatsApp group. So stay in touch, and a big Haribol to you, Prabhu. Thank you so much for coming. So we'll meet again next week, kids. Okay. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindhubhyascha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Anantakoti Vaishnavavrinda ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. Regarding the bhajan classes, it's generally on Wednesdays. I know many of the Madhava kids are also on the same group as the bhajan class group. So the bhajan classes are on Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. CST. So in case you would like to join that, that will be on Wednesday. And the Bhagavad Gita classes will resume on Mondays at this time. So thank you all so much. We'll meet again next week. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.